Hello and welcome to the live auction of our Subaru WRX STI on Bring a Trailer. This is an exciting day for us here at TRC because we get to watch all of this come together finally. The final journey, the final chapter of this build is happening right now on bringatrailer.com. And so we're here today live streaming this whole entire segment and just kind of hanging out with you guys for the process. We have no idea how long this is going to go for. We've watched a lot of Bring a Trailer auctions go for a lot longer than expected. So needless to say, we've stocked up on food, we've stocked up on Pepsi products, we've stocked up on everything that we need just to kind of keep us going for the rest of the time. A couple energy drinks here and there. So as you can see, we have the Subaru behind us looking absolutely awesome. We just washed it today along with a coat of P&S Stream Maker just to really pop the gloss for this live event. It looks pretty wild. It looks pretty awesome. And so I want to give a huge shout out to our friends over at Horizon Credit Union because the food I mentioned earlier was actually supplied by them. They brought in over 15 pizzas to keep us satisfied through this entire process. And so what we're going to do is answer some questions. Because we're live today, we want you to ask questions so we can answer them here on camera for anything that you might want to know about our Subaru build. So anyways.
All right, Anthony, first question.
They want to know, are those wheels factory?
Are these wheels factory? So I'm sure they're probably referring to the BBS wheels behind us right here. And yes, these are the factory wheels. Now what's cool about this car is that it's going to come with two sets of wheels. It's going to come with the factory OEM BBS wheels that were recently refurbished and refinished, or repowder coated I should say. Then the other set of wheels are going to be from our friends over at Koenig. So these are the Koenig hexaforms in, I believe that they are 18 by 8.5. With the Toyo Proxies, the R888s. And so two sets, basically, depending on what flavor you want to go with, or if you're wanting to maybe take this car out and autocross it or take it down to mountain course, whatever you like to do, these are probably the wheels that I would go with for that particular task. But for daily driving and for getting around town, I think that the BBS with the Continental DWS are going to be the way to go.
All right, we got a good comment from David Figs here. If it wasn't for this series, I would have never found the channel. Just got an 04 STI World Rally Blue, and as I don't have the same access to tools and products as you guys, it's definitely inspiring. But maybe you could give him some tips on how he could get, you know, some good looking stuff going on with his car.
Absolutely, yeah. So thank you. Thank you for subscribing. I'm glad you found us because this was definitely one of those risky things when it comes to a business or a series on YouTube. This is the first time we've ever done a car build or anything of that nature. I mean, fun fact, we're a towel company. We were in a garage not too many years ago, and we're all car people though. So that's the thing. It kind of came together, right? It made sense that, okay, we're into cars, but how can we show somebody how our products, our towels, and everything that we sell are used in these scenarios? And so, yeah, I'm glad you found us. But in terms of getting started, I think the biggest thing is starting to care about your paintwork and starting to care about the exterior of the car, the interior of the car, and everything that is detailing. Because detailing is one of the things that you can do where you really feel fulfilled, I guess you could say, and it's something that you yourself can do, or if you don't feel comfortable, you can take it to a professional. But I think that the more you learn, the more you educate yourself, and maybe the more you watch our videos or maybe other videos on YouTube, I think the more confident you'll start feeling and the more you're going to start caring. Because once you see polished paint for the first time, or maybe see your car polished for the first time, it really changes your perspective on what's possible in detailing. And then you can take it to the next level and you can ceramic coat it, you can wax it, put a sealant on it, whatever you like to do. But I think that detailing products have come such a long way and are so much more user friendly, and so many more people are getting into it, that I think it kind of raises the stakes of, you know, how good a car can actually look. So I'd say watch more videos, continue educating yourself, pick up some good products to get you started, and see how far down the rabbit hole you're willing to go.
Okay, well, this one is from a regular viewer on the channel.
All right.
First from Puerto Rico, our friend Umberto. He just wants to know where he goes to bid on the car. And actually, this is good info for people who are joining the stream who don't know where to find it. Where do they find it, Anthony?
Yeah. So I would head to bringatrailer.com. So Bring a Trailer is where we're currently hosting this live auction. So right now it currently ends in 1 hour and 21 minutes with a couple seconds left on the clock. Nick has it pulled up here. You can see it to our right or left depending on how you're looking at the screen. And so the auction's been going on for about 6 days now. The first couple of days we saw a huge influx of bids, which was awesome and totally blew us away. But we all know that really the fun stuff happens within the last couple hours, and we're really excited to watch and see how this goes. Now, for the auction and for this live feed, we actually wanted to throw on the BBS wheels because we thought it made the most sense. A lot of people are purists out there and they want to see the car in kind of its original form, and this is about as close as it gets for what we have right here. But of course, our modifications on the car, and you guys are more than willing to ask those questions, and we can get them answered for you.
All right. So apparently my mic is being picked up on the small things. Yoshi just says, Dane whispering sweet nothings to us. So
as long as you can't hear the heavy breathing, I think that's okay.
Yes.
So anyway, what I want to do is I'm actually going to get one of the cameras here, and we're going to walk around the car. Dane can pull up another comment as we go along. So we're going to get on the Jimmy cam here and take a quick walk around. Jimmy, you ready to rock and roll?
Yep.
All right, so front of the car here looks absolutely awesome. We probably had the most time into the front end of this car in terms of the sanding, the polishing, and all of the finishing on this thing. It just looks absolutely killer. And so headlights were restored. They previously had, I think, what I would call probably like a Cerakote coating on them. So we actually had to polish off the wipe on clear coat, get it off of the car, and then put on some PPF film. And so I believe we went with Expel Ultimate on the film here, so it looks pretty awesome. Front bumper looks absolutely incredible. We actually threw on this lower lip here and color matched it. It's an OEM front lip, and that was kind of an accident. We didn't really know how good it was going to look until we got it on there. We weren't planning on putting on a front lip on this car because, believe it or not, everybody here at TRC is anti-low. They were like, why would you drive a low car around? And we're like, well, not everybody.
I was going to say maybe 90%.
A handful of us, right? Or a handful of us like the low cars. Everybody else is like, low cars, why? Well, low cars just look better, right? They look a lot better and they look way more aggressive. And so the front lip kind of added to the lowness a little bit, but it's still very functional at this right height. And so we're able to go over speed bumps and everything else without any issues. So hood scoop, absolutely one of the most aggressive things on this car. I'm sure if you guys are watching this, you guys have seen probably plenty of Subarus in your lifetime, but I particularly love the 04-05 hood scoop because it is known as being the most aggressive. It's the largest, it's the biggest. It's kind of crazy how big that thing is, and when you're sitting from the driver's seat or even the passenger seat and seeing that thing over the hood, it just makes you feel like you're in a really cool car, rally car, right? So anyways, we're gonna open up the hood here, get under here, aluminum hood, very lightweight, and then check out the engine bay. So this is where I think there was a huge transformation on the engine bay. From the combination of us doing just a thorough deep clean on it and getting it all cleaned up with our detailing products and going through, we basically decontaminated this of any iron or any fallout within the engine, but then also dressed it. And then after that though, we wanted to take it to another level, and that's where the dry ice blasting came in, and we actually had the entire engine dry ice blasted from the top and then redressed everything to literally make it look like new. So awesome. We were super happy with how that turned out. All new fluids, everything in there, timing belt, everything is up to date in terms of maintenance, and it runs fantastic. We have no complaints with that. And you can actually see our suspension here that I'll talk about here in just a little bit from Fortune Auto with the Swift Spring upgrades and the adjustability from there. So we have Dane over here. Dane.
I'm waving because I've got a comment that I think you can answer pretty well here. This goes back to what you're saying about the car being low. I understand when somebody hears the car is low, they get a little concerned about speed bumps and that kind of thing. I just want to explain to them how the car actually performs out in the real world, going around a parking lot. So Scott here is asking, with this car so low, how careful do you have to be when driving, speed bumps, etc.?
Yeah, good question. So the good news is that this car is on adjustable coilovers, meaning that you can raise the car or you can lower it to your desired height. Now, the reason why we decided to do that in the first place, right, the reason for the suspension upgrade was because this car has already been through 2 sets of stock suspension, and the rears were blown out when we got the car, and even the previous owner said, hey, I don't know what the deal is. The stock suspension on these cars isn't great. It's already been replaced twice, and we're still having issues with it. So he said, I would recommend upgrading to something better. So we had quite a few options on the table when we were looking at suspension. We wanted to do something that was going to be nice, but also perform well and still be comfortable around town. And so that's when we settled on the Fortune Autos and did the Swift Spring upgrade. So these are fully adjustable coilover with dampening that you can adjust as well. And we love the ride. I think it's absolutely awesome. We actually thought that it was almost really soft at first, and we stiffened it up quite a bit just to give it a little bit more of a sporty feel that was more resemblance of being stock. And suspension's brand new. I mean, there's nothing better than a new suspension that you can adjust. So I guess getting to your question, because I kind of avoided that. How is it driving around town? It's awesome. We've hit speed bumps with it. We've taken down pretty bumpy roads with no major issues. And then we took it to several different little park locations to actually film some content where the road was uneven and it was bumpy, and we didn't scrape, we didn't rub, there was no issues at all.
Well, and a lot of people who have, you know, some experience with Subaru WRXs and STIs of these kind of generations, the earlier ones, they know that they can be a little rattly, they can be a little, you know, all those things. I found, at least when I was driving it, this suspension made it more compliant. It made it feel more stable. And it still maintained the character of the car. You weren't losing anything by doing it, but it definitely made it feel more confident to me.
Absolutely. And so I think that's where, with this car, I mean, this car is already extremely nimble. It's already extremely fun. I mean, it's a sport tuner car, right? It's a rally car. And it's so, I don't want to call it sensitive. It does what you want it to do, right? Where you want to put it, it goes there, right? Being all-wheel drive is a huge thing on there. And I say that on an all-wheel drive car, I think tires are one of the biggest differences that you can make on a car, especially something with this much performance. And so with the suspension dialed in, right? Once we got that done and once we got the alignment on, I think that the first drive that we took coming back from the alignment shop after everything was done and we had it on the Koenig hexaforms with the R888s, that was like mind-blowing. I think like the first turn I took, the way it just hugged and took that turn, and you could feel the grip of the road, or the grip of the tire, I should say, on the road, and the way you kind of sink back in your seat with little to no body roll at all whatsoever, was very addicting. I could see how some people just get absolutely hooked with this being a rally car, with this being an autocross car, whatever it may be for them. I mean, heck, even a daily driver on this setup. So it puts a smile on your face just thinking about it. That's how much fun it is. All right, Dane, we got another one.
David's got another comment here for you. He says he appreciates the feedback, so thank you for that. And he definitely has a passion for detailing. But he noticed that we don't have a ton of content around off-roading your trucks. Is there any reason for that?
Off-roading our trucks or off-roading or trucks?
Off-roading your trucks in general. I think it's just because a lot of us are car people, but there are truck people here too.
Oh, absolutely. And so what's funny is that here within this media studio, right, most of us here are car people within this vicinity of 7,000 square feet. But the second you walk across over to the main building, there's about 7 to 8 trucks lined up in a row. And so a lot of truck people here. We got some Jeep people here as well. We got one Jeep person right here actually behind the camera. And I think cars are just what get us excited. I mean, I think that each of us come from a different car background and kind of bring our own experience with that kind of stuff. And we all appreciate different tastes. You know, we always say Dane is into the weird cars, the strange cars, the ones that nobody really likes, the jalopnik cars, whatever you would like to call it.
I like novelty.
Novelty is what he likes, right? So needless to say, Doug Namiro is one of his biggest influencers.
I met him. He's a nice guy.
He loves Doug. And so myself, I'm more of a kind of Fast and Furious tuner realm kind of guy, and so that's where this kind of was a little hit a little bit more home for me in terms of what I like to work on. So, but yeah, trucks, maybe someday, right? Maybe someday in the future we'll get into that.
Now this one's back to the car.
Okay.
So I've got Nick here, Nick Diaz, asking if the 60K service was done on this. So the 60,000 mile service. So you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah. So the 60K service was done. Gates timing belt, brand new water pump, and then all of the fluids were also changed. So basically, any accessory belts were changed, as well as all of the fluids. And so diff fluids, transmission fluid, oil, everything that needed to be changed was changed. And so it's up to date on all of the maintenance. we have proof of the install of the Gates timing belt and when that was done with the receipt, as well as the water pump, and then the most recent service history with a walk around and paperwork from Subaru as of just a couple days ago, because we knew that this was going to be going on here. We have some picky people, and I don't blame you because I'm a picky person myself. So we have all the documentation for that as well, and you can reach out to Gabe at theragcompany.com, and he can get you something sent out, hopefully in a timely manner. What else you got, Dane?
All right, so I was getting a little word from Gabe. He does want us to point out something on the interior when it came to like the stereo install, stuff like that. So kind of going over, understanding what that involved, because some people may think, oh, stereo install is more extreme, but actually it's a little more on the simple side, being a Crutchfield.
Correct, yeah. So for the stereo, the head unit, so when we got the car, it had an aftermarket head unit in it, and it wasn't really up to our standards. It really wasn't up to it at all. I mean, basically, it was just your bare bones single DIN head unit, nothing too exciting, little to no adjustment. I think you had 3 equalizer settings on it. It was a very 2005-ish head unit, and it needed to be changed. And so we wanted to do something just to modernize it just a little bit. Now we have Gabe and we have Nick here, who are our resident nerds, as we like to call them, and they have a very different opinion on audio than what we have, and so they're a little bit more audiophiles, and so they wanted to go through and completely replace the head unit as well as add in a subwoofer. And I know some people think a subwoofer, that's kind of janky, right? Well, the way we did it was actually extremely clean. So the head unit in here, we'll kind of give you a quick peek, is a double DIN head unit. It looks absolutely awesome. It looks factory. The trim pieces are all there, and I don't know, we don't really have any complaints. We think it's very user friendly, and so obviously it syncs up to your phone via Bluetooth. And then coming into the trunk here, popping the trunk, we're gonna go around, and this is where I'm a big fan of things being OEM plus. That's my thing, and I like things looking simple, right? If you can keep everything hidden to where everything looks very OEM until that point that somebody wants to see, there you go. So right here, so we're going to be going through, we're going to clean up a little bit more of this wiring, but you do have your adjustment there. So it is a Rockville, I guess you could call it a spare recessed subwoofer is what you could call it. So for somebody that wanted to know it was there you go. But maybe it's something cool that when you take it for a drive or something, you get to surprise somebody.
Okay. Anthony, I apologize. I have like 5 microphones on me and voices in my ear and all this crazy stuff.
Hit me, Dane.
They really, really, really want me to point out some very specific things, because there are people who get a little worried when they hear about a stereo install. They think, oh, you must have spliced stuff. You must have done all this. Yeah. Just want to make it really clear that when we did this, it was meant to be extremely OEM friendly, OEM plus, and actually there was no splicing involved because it was a plug-and-play harness, totally reversible.
Yeah, so we got the kit from Crutchfield. As Levi says, our friends over at Crutchfield. And so it was pretty simple. I mean, literally, we just did a clip into the factory wiring harness and then ran it through. Gabe ended up doing that install with Nick and plugged it in and ran the wires. I think the only wire, we went through the firewall for the battery, and that was pretty much it. We just went through just an OEM plug, and basically it's pretty simple. So pretty simple, nothing was cut. So if you wanted to revert it back to stock, and I think that we actually do have some of the extra stock components. I think that if you would like the original single DIN that was still aftermarket, we can probably throw that in with the car as well.
I got a question here from Andrew.
All right.
Popping in, Deb Peddle says, I'm sad to see TRCREX go, but I'm stoked to see the next project, if there is one. Is there one?
I have no idea. That's a great question. I literally don't know, because I guess that's really up to Jeff. I mean, if Jeff allows it, if maybe Dane, twists his arm a little bit and says, hey, I think we're ready for another project, maybe so. But to be honest, at this point in time, guys, we just finished with not just one car, but 4 cars, technically at this point in time. So if you haven't caught up, we actually have a cheap car challenge on our YouTube channel where me, Dane, and Levi took some very cheap cars, and we had a $3,000 budget and completely transformed them to make them clean. And that was quite a bit of work, right? So that was 3 cars, this was 1 car, and I think after all these cars, I think I don't want to say we're done for a little bit. I think we need to catch our breath before we take on another project, but we'll see.
One other thing here, getting back to the vehicle, because of course this is once again about the Subaru, and
Yeah.
Gabe has made sure to make it very clear we are talking about the Subaru today.
Yeah.
I will say, as far as this goes, you want to talk about some of the exterior work that has been done to this in terms of products we use, things that are on it now, like coatings, etc.
Yeah. So when we first got the car, needless to say, you know, it was pretty dirty, right? It had been sitting out under a tree for a little bit of time. I think when people first saw the shots of the car, they assumed that this was literally like a barn find that had been completely neglected. That wasn't the case. It wasn't completely neglected. Honestly, it just hadn't been washed, and it was sitting under a tree during fall when leaves fall. So it kind of set the vibe that it maybe had been neglected. But honestly, the previous owner really loved this car and really took very good care of this car. And but the exterior paintwork, though, that was the one thing where we knew we were going to have our work cut out for us, because there were going to be some things that need to be resprayed, because there was really no saving it. I could do all the rock chip repair in the world, and it just wasn't going to be enough. But we knew that with a couple of things getting resprayed, we knew that with me going through and rock chip repairing some of these things, as well as doing a ton of paintless dent repair and doing it the right way, we knew that we can get this car back to a clean state. So I think the first thing that we did before we even touched the car was the paintless dent repair. So we had Eric from Car Medic come out, who has been my go-to guy and one of the most reputable guys here in the valley, here in Idaho, come and do it. And so he spent 2 days on this car, because we told him we wanted it perfect and price was no object. So we said, take your time, do it once, do it right, and be careful, right? We said that out of everything on this car, these interior panels, especially on these older Japanese cars, we know they can get brittle with time, so please be careful. So we really took his time disassembling the car and being able to put everything back together perfectly. And so quite literally every single dent that we could get out came out on the car, and it turned out absolutely awesome. But once that was done, that's when we were able to send everything out for paint. So some of the things that we sent out for paint was going to be the entire hood, the hood scoop, as well as the front bumper, front lip, and then the side skirts as well. And then we did the trunk, and that was actually it for respray. And so we took it out to one of the most reputable painters here within the valley, who actually trained under Charlie Hutton, who was a very famous painter. And so I want to give a huge shout out, because he did an absolutely awesome job. And I mean, literally, the paintwork was just fantastic.
It looks
the color match was
yeah.
great. The way the flake was laid was great. And what's kind of cool about this Java Black Pearl is that in this light, it looks black, right? It looks black. But once you actually see it out in the sunlight, you start seeing all the flake, all the greens, all the browns, all the yellows, and it really starts coming together.
All right, so Anthony, I've got a few more here for you.
Yeah.
Some good questions, because people see the car, they see the wheels, they're wondering how modified it is. Now, I got somebody asking how much horsepower it makes. I can answer this one. It's stock. It's a stock drivetrain. However, we've refreshed everything along the way in between there. So if you want to talk a little bit about anything done to the drivetrain maintenance-wise, or just, you know, some basic things, what we did and what we didn't do.
So I'm going to get to that here in just a second, because I didn't get to finish out here. So
Yeah.
there's actually a thunderstorm actually happening right outside our little place here, so it got kind of loud for a second. But after the PDR was done, after the paintwork was done, that's when we had Jason Kilmer. And
Sorry, Anthony, they lost your mic.
oh, check the mic.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and carry this for a moment while Anthony situates his microphone. Not to worry, that's okay. There's a big thunderstorm going on outside, but we're nice and dry in here. Car's safe for the time being, and it's been kept in here the whole time that we've had the car. We make sure and keep it in a nice garage storage setting, nice and dry, and keeps the detailing we've done on it completely fresh. So, as far as everything else on it, Anthony, is your mic good to go now?
I think I'm good to go.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
Just had to replace the battery on there really quick.
So go ahead and pick up where you were on, and then I've got a few more questions relating to the modifications that were done.
You got it, yeah. So I guess going back to what I was saying before, hearing that thunderstorm out there, is it hailing? Is it hailing?
It's hitting a red Civic.
Oh, it's hitting a red Civic out there? That's not good.
No.
Yikes. I might have to call the PDR guy. Hey, Eric, I need you to come back out here. Not for the Subaru, for everything else in the parking lot. No, going back to what I was saying though, so after all the paintwork was done, that's when we basically brought in everybody, some of the best, really the best in the business, to come out here and really polish things. And so basically went through, polished everything, got it to the best of our ability, and it looked absolutely awesome. So what we had is Jason Kilmer come out and do a lot of the wet sanding and then obviously Dylan Von Kleist, Davey P from Oberk, and then all of us to go through and basically knock everything out. And so it looks really, really good. And following that, that's when we coated the car in CSU, and the CSU turned out fantastic. And then we covered the top in EXO, and so that was pretty good. Yeah.
So I threw carbon red eye up there just because it's a good question to ask. With a car like this, you always wonder, but we actually know in this case the car's been kept.
Yeah,
stock.
The car was kept 100% stock pretty much its entire life. It really, the previous owner was a teacher, and he said that before him it was one of his friends, so it's kind of kept within a close realm. And yeah, so it's been pretty much stock. I think the only thing that they did was the lower airbox carton delete. I think that's the only thing that was done on this car. Other than that, it's been
which
stock.
really doesn't affect anything.
Yeah, I think
in
it
a
was
negative
just
way,
to hear just a little bit more,
totally
a little bit
fine.
more of the turbo noises. But other than that, everything else has been stock. So there's been no Cobb access port or anything like that.
Yes. And Anthony, I've got a question from Space Cowboy here, wanting to know about PPF, aka paint protection film, for people who are maybe joining for Bring a Trailer who may not know what that is.
So paint protection film. Is is essentially a film that goes over. I mean, kind of like a screen protector on your phone, right? That prevents scratches. It prevents, or I guess, deeper scratches. Prevents rock chips, and it is quite literally a self-healing film that goes over the top of a clear-coated or single-stage surface. And so you can put PPF on pretty much about anything on the exterior of a vehicle. I mean, hell, even including the front windshield. But the headlights were PPF, and then the top of the roof was PPF, just because we did that out of an insurance thing, right? We wanted to make sure that because on these older cars, the clear coat is getting thinner and thinner with time, that we wanted to make sure that it stays in good shape. So we put paint protection film over the top of that, as well as the top of the spoiler. And that was about it, right? We probably should have, probably in retrospect, PPF the hood, but we liked how good the hood turned out. We didn't want to alter that with the look of PPF. I mean, there was so much wet sanding into this hood that we didn't want to PPF it. So we ended up just kind of calling it good after that. But it is a film, it is self-healing, it does have insane UV resistance, and it will prevent oxidation, because basically if air cannot get to the surface underneath the PPF, it can't oxidize.
So I got a fun one here from David Figs, actually, leaving a comment here with some fun facts about the car you may want to know.
Okay.
So up on the screen there, we have basically of record when the car came to the US, what order number it was, and how many of this particular color combo there were.
Wow, that is that's pretty cool, man. That's pretty cool. 935 ever shipped with the Java Black Pearl with the silver BBS. Now, what's funny is that when we first got this car, we actually did a lot of that research, right? We wanted to know how rare this combination was, or how many were available, because myself, I'm a huge fan of the white STIs, right? And that came in white with the gold BBS. That was like, when I saw that, as a 14-year-old kid, I was like, that's the car. It's amazing, right? And so I always said, well, dang, it kind of, is it a bad thing that this car didn't come with the gold BBS? And the more we found out about it, the more we learned that really wasn't necessarily the case. I mean, the silver BBS seemed to be a pretty rare combination with this color, making it, I guess, even more wanted, which was cool. And it also gave us room to be able to throw on the bronze Koenig hexaforms here from Koenig, and because it kind of changes up the color, right? And I think that on these wheels, with this more of aggressive stance on it, we thought that it really brought out a lot of that extra flake in the car, especially out in the sunlight. It looked really, really good.
So one other thing I wanted to point out, we've talked about the wheels and the tires on the Koenigs and stuff. What tires are currently on the BBS?
So the tires that are currently on the BBS are going to be the standard or the stock size, which I want to say is a 225 45 17. I want to say it's a 225. Yeah. And these are just the Continental DWS Extreme Contact. These are the all season. So these are the ones that you can run all year long. They're still a great tire and they handle fantastic. They're just kind of a different beast. We really think that when you throw on the R888s or the 888Rs, it's like, it changes that car quite a bit. Unfortunately, we only put I want to say we put probably 10 miles on these tires. I wish we put a little bit more on it, but
they're show miles.
They're show miles. Yeah.
But that leaves it for the next guy.
It would have been fun to go out and rip on this. But the fun part is that when we first got this car, we had all these ideas. We said, hey, let's finish it. Let's go take it to an autocross day, right? Let's show people what it's capable of, or let's go and do something fun and maybe take some employees around the parking lot and kind of rip on it a little bit. But right after it was polished and coated and everything came together, we all looked at each other and said, this car is too nice to do that on. So yeah, we never really got to have the fun part. I guess most of the fun was spent in the detailing portion.
Yeah. Well, and I've had more murmurs in my ear, as it were, saying that we should come over and talk about all the stuff on this table. So
Yeah.
as far as documentation goes, and Gabe is more than volunteered to come over and help explain some of this stuff too.
So I think we'll have Gabe come out and do that. That way I can kind of catch my breath a little bit. Last thing I want is my voice to go out because we still have an hour left here. And
yeah, that's true. We got a ways to go.
We'll have Gabe Garcia come out, who's kind of been in charge of kind of basically, I guess, keeping track of all the documentation of this car, as well as scheduling all the maintenance and keeping all the records. But he'll come through and he'll show you kind of our sheet of all of our paperwork here, as well as the original manuals and everything else that came in the
Tool
trunk.
sets, inspection, everything.
Yep. So we got Gabe coming out. He's getting mic'd up.
All right.
Hello, welcome.
We are
Dan.
TRC QVC. All right.
Can they hear me okay?
I think that they can
All
absolutely
right, they can
hear you.
hear
Okay.
you. Go
Okay.
for it,
Take
Gabe.
it away.
So going over the documentation, as Anthony mentioned, we won Fortune Auto. So, and Jimmy, one of our videographers here at the Rad Company, pushed us on going with Fortune Auto. So the owner is going to get a actual certification signed by the builder of the struts. And they have these really cool keys. So the new owner can adjust it accordingly. So going back to that question, I think that Anthony answered a while back of, well, about, the height of the car and does it rub? They can adjust it. So it does come with the adjustments, the certified builder sheet. For the tires for both the R888s and for the Continentals, in this pack right here, we have all the receipts and documentation for both of those. So if you open this up, we got all the receipts, the Les Schwab, and we've got the Les Schwab for the Contis. So we have receipts for both of those. So the new owner is going to get that as well. We've got the original manuals that came with the Subaru. So it still has all the original manuals. The original toolkit that came with the WRX is also, so for all of your jacks and your screwdriver, and so that stuff is available. In the last week, one thing that we did going to the new owner, we wanted to make sure that this car was fully checked through. So this is a full inspection sheet of the entire car. The battery is an older battery. It was 2016 that battery was new. So we are going to replace the battery. But we did get all fluids changed, both the front and rear diffs.
And the center too.
Yeah, and the center. We got oil changed. We got the brakes flushed. We've got everything flushed out, even the coolant flushed out. So the new owner will also get all of these receipts by Larry H. Miller of Boise, Idaho. So that kind of covers that. And then as far as everything that we've done, everything that the guys have done on this build from beginning, we have this long laundry list of things. So these are all just parts that we purchased from Larry H. Miller. We did replace things like the inner fender well plastics. We wanted to make sure that they looked fresh, but OEM. So stuff like that is all calculated on here. We touched up on the driver's side seat. It had a little bit of, it wasn't ripping necessarily, it was coming apart from the seams. So they had that reupholstered and fixed, and we had the bolster also built back up for the new owner, again, just to make it look OEM fresh. So we have all of that covered in here for the upholstery. Dr. Color Chip, Anthony did a really great job covering parts of the car with Dr. Color Chip. We've got any of our paint protection and all of that covered in here as well. So they get a long laundry list of those documents as well. And then what is really cool is we kept in touch with the previous owner. So Anthony mentioned at 60,000 miles, the car went through an extensive maintenance plan. They did the timing belt, they did the water pump, they did the thermostat, they did the tensioner pulley, which is really key. all of that has been done. I also have the documentation for that. And then I have more documentation on the car, which will be shared, and that will be a digital file that will be sent to the new owner as well. So a lot of extensive maintenance done on the car, and there's been a lot that they've done.
I've got a good question from David Figs here, since you might know off the top of your head. How many man hours were spent on this car getting it to where it is now?
So there was 1 week where we flew in 15 guys just to work on the exterior. And we were working full 8-hour days times 15 guys. I mean, we've been working on this project since last October. So realistically a year. And I'm not saying we did every single day, but I don't know. That's a tough, if you had to guess.
It was here. And I think that's the thing is that when the car is here,
Yeah.
and you have a bunch of car guys that's around something that's here, they're going to want to start getting their hands on something. And so it wasn't every single day, but it was definitely something to where we all took on
I mean, you
different
spent
projects.
alone probably 16 to 20 hours just going over brakes,
Yeah.
struts. Not to mention that we made sure that even on the brake calipers, if there was a little chip in it or anything of that sort, we made sure it was fixed and done right.
Yeah, so we ended up using because the hard part is that with the Brembos, when it comes to like repowder coating them, it requires a rebuild kit on the Brembos, right? Most people won't repowder coat it without actually rebuilding them. So
Honda.
yeah, so instead of having them repowder coated, we ended up actually just Dr. Color chipping them with the color code from a gold Honda, and we did that, which was actually a pretty close match, and went through, filled in everything that we could. The previous owner had some rotas on there, right? And the rotas, the clearance is very tight, and any type of gravel, anything that got caught in between would cause a chip. And so we went through and filled all of that. So the calipers were not refinished in terms of a powder coat job. But I mean, between the new brake pads, so the Stop Tech brake pads, awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely love them. And then our friends over at Rotor Pros did kind of a custom slot for us. And so we told them, I'm like, I really like the smiley face design, but if we can get that kind of a different angle, and he was like, let me see what I can do. Sent me kind of a proof of it, and I said, okay, that looks pretty awesome. It looks aggressive and functional.
And one thing I want to know, because the camera's on the wheels right now, if you look closely on the lug nuts, Jimmy Wilkie also pushed us into getting the actual STI lug nuts, which is pretty dang nice. So that to me is a nice, when you talk about OEM plus, that's a nice touch that just pushes it a little bit further.
Well, and
they're
and they're like
more than just a single piece.
Yeah, correct. They're a 2-axis lug nut. So basically, when you go to spin them off, they are going to literally spin off in the way that they're not going to chip, right? Because there's a little
Scratch the rim.
Yep, exactly. And or the lug nuts, right? So it keeps them from flaking off, because that's one of the most unsightly things about lug nuts is when things really start to flake off and look ugly. So we thought that looked really cool, a nice OEM plus touch. But yeah.
I want to go into the interior for a little bit while I'm here, I guess, kind of going through my mind. Have Anthony kind of bring the camera on in here. When you look, for instance, a lot of people, I noticed, Dane, there was a lot of questions about what our thoughts were on the new WRX, right?
A lot of those.
If you look closely to the shift knob specifically, you know, I was looking at the new shift knob.
It's Dave's favorite thing.
It is. So that is a JDM shift knob that we had
so
shipped
nice.
over. It's leather, perforated leather, but it looks stock. It looks like the new WRX STI. And I know I'm really proud of the stereo as well. If you look closely down
The shift knob install was 30 seconds, Gabe, and it's the thing you're most excited about.
That was a lot of
But
work.
that's true OEM.
Yeah.
But if you look underneath the stereo too, right?
Yeah.
The USB plug-in, that factory for the WRX STI was actually a lighter. And what we did was we put that in to make it look like that is how it came from factory.
Yeah.
So one of the things, again, when we talk about any touches that we did on the car, our goal was to make it OEM plus. So that's another key touch that I just wanted to push. And in the glove box too, you know what's really cool is there's another USB plug-in, and you can actually, the cables ran from the stereo. If you have a USB with music, you can plug it into that. and you can run thousands of songs if you wanted to and you didn't want to use Apple CarPlay on your phone.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that the new OEM mats were really nice too. I think it was a really nice touch in the black. So there were some things, there was some thought that went into this, and so then the steering wheel, right? So that was another big thing. So the steering wheel on here, the leather was just it was kind of, I don't want to say beyond saving. It just needed a full rewrap. If we were going to go leather, we'd need a full rewrap or just need a new OEM wheel because of I guess just the outer coating of that leather was starting to come off, and so
I would say it was one of the roughest things on the car was just the steering wheel for normal wear and tear. The things where you touch it, it just wears over time, but it's the most visibly obvious that it's old.
Yeah, exactly. So instead of, when we tried shopping for a new wheel, we searched for months. We had the hardest time finding it. So what we ended up doing was settling on a rewrap here and the Japanese micro suede or Alcantara, and we got that from Auto Interior Technic and went through and did it ourselves, and it looks and feels awesome. It definitely gives you a lot more grip on it. It's also one of those things that takes a little bit more to maintain, so we've tried to be really careful with washing our hands before touching the Alcantara because we don't want to leave our oils from our hands on it. So we keep a microfiber towel, a little bit clean our hands off.
You pop the hood and show them.
Yep, pop the hood. That was my
gonna
famous line.
Do you want to show them what the car sounds like?
Yeah, I can just start it
Do you
up.
want to do
I can start up for him,
cold test?
Yeah.
So I'll, you want to pop the hood for me? We'll do the cold test where I touch the manifold to show them that it is indeed cold.
You're good?
And for those wondering, yes, the car comes with 2 sets of keys.
Yep.
Okay.
That includes fobs.
I like the blue key
So,
specifically. That's
The
the one.
blue key is
The
the
blue
original
key is
key.
like-
That thing
it
is
is
super cool.
cold.
Very
It's the,
of the era. You just don't get them like that
do you want me
anymore.
to turn on and start revving it now?
Yeah.
Right, Gabe?
Go ahead, turn it on.
Turn it on.
Do not rev. Give it a sec to warm up. Here, I'm just going to sit down and breathe exhaust so people can hear it.
Well, and again, one thing that Julie knows when you touch this, none of this there's no dressing of any kind on here. It is clean to the touch. No oils, nothing of that sort.
Can I make sure the horn works? Okay, so anyway, looks like somebody was listening to Save the World, the remixes by Swedish House Mafia. This has been linked to Gabe's iPhone. Gabe, you're gonna have to unlink your iPhone before this sells, right? I think he knows that. So anyways, AC works. Turning on the AC here. And then, of course, all of your windows and everything work too. May I raise the idle just a little bit?
Here, I'm just going to come down and breathe the exhaust so you can hear them revving. Give it a little, Anthony.
Well, I'm gonna wait till to get past the first line there. just
Okay,
to
you're
make
not
sure.
past it yet? All right.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it just another minute longer.
Well, then I'm going to stop breathing exhaust.
Yeah.
Just let me know when you want to do that. But in the meantime, they wanted to hear the
You
horn.
want me to hit the horn?
Yeah. Hey, look at that. Horn works. All right.
Okay, the most important part, right?
Well, the other thing I wanted to point out was on this steering wheel wrap, right?
Yeah.
It's not loose. Like some people get worried, oh, you wrapped the steering wheel. No, this is very sturdy.
Yeah.
It's not going
There was
anywhere.
a double-sided tape that went on the underside of this, and so
Hand stitched.
yeah, hand stitched, I guess you could say. So yeah, I'll give it just a couple revs here.
All right, let me get
Make
down
sure the
here.
condensation's worked out of the exhaust. And
All right.
ready? Feels good.
One more time, Anthony. One more. Perfect.
Feels pretty cool. I mean, you feel the rumble from the seat. That's Subaru rumble. Okay. I'm gonna stop revving somebody's engine. Okay. I'm gonna let it kind of.
Yeah, this is
Let it
someone
idle
else's
for a
engine
quick
by the
second.
end of the show.
I
so.
know.
Did you get any cool turbo whooshy sounds under the hood there?
Not really.
No?
Not really. I think that you
If
really.
I,
I think
if
you
I
re-
stand over there, if you just give it a little bit so I can kind of hear. All right, that's under the hood. I know when you're driving, you can hear the boost build. You can definitely
you can hear
it
the
then.
boost. Yeah, when it's building. But yeah, I don't know how much boost this builds when you're just revving in neutral. Sometimes they build boost. Sometimes it's just vacuum. So, all right, turn this thing off. Nice. Seems so docile when it's off. When it's on, it seems like it's ready to rock and roll.
So I've been told by Gabe that anybody interested in the car here who wants to ask some more info or something like that can ask Gabe at theragcompany.com.
Yep.
So you can definitely reach out to him as well. He'll be handling the back-end emails and all that stuff. But of course, also you can just go to the actual listing on Bring a Trailer. Just type in Subaru, and you'll see this is the only black Subaru currently for sale on there.
Yeah.
And take it from there.
Yeah. So other than that, though, I mean, I'm trying to think of anything else really to cover. I mean, I think some of the biggest changes to the car were definitely the suspension, the wheels, obviously, the brand new brakes, rebleeding all the fluids, you know, making sure new fluids are in here, and I mean, that's really it. I mean, everything else is still relatively stock, but it's just kind of funny because for a stock car, this thing still picks up and goes. You know, it still has plenty of power, and the fact that it only has 65,000 miles is pretty cool because you feel like you have so much left within this car, right? There's still so much to enjoy, and I think at a car that is now, 17 years old.
Yeah, that's weird.
17
weird to
years
think
old,
that, huh?
that it still has plenty of life and it can still keep up with all the modern cars today. And
Yeah.
it is a neck breaker, though. In our few drives that we've taken, it is kind of cool how the black catches people. You know, you catch people looking.
Because the sun hits it and suddenly it's not black anymore. It's got that green flake, that yellowy green flake that just bam out of nowhere hits them. Catches them off guard.
Pretty dang menacing.
I've got one here from First from Puerto Rico, aka Umberto here, asking, let's see how many cookies Sarah and Tuned would give it. We met her at last SEMA.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I hope all the cookies.
Yeah, that's all I can think.
As long as, and can I get one of those cookies too,
Yeah.
or how does that work?
Now, as far as the actual finish on the car goes, paint's been corrected, you got the PPF, you got that stuff, but the coating, did you talk about the coating?
Yeah, so CSU and EXO, so Crystal Serum Ultra and EXO V4 is on the top of this. And so what we found is that the coating is awesome. It feels good. It looks really, really good. The only thing is that when it came to washing this car or taking care of this car, honestly, I mean, you really have to be careful because soft clear coat, soft Japanese clear coat, even with a pro coating on there, isn't the end all be all. And so I'm actually have Mr. Levi Gates, Master of Shine, talk about this.
Hey, what's up? Holy cow. Yeah, if this isn't enough of a telethon for you guys, I don't know what is, but Anthony's right. Subarus are notorious for their soft paint. You look at them wrong, you scratch them. So, needless to say, the previous owner took care of the car as best as he could, but we're pro detailers here and we wanted to make this thing look its absolute best. So that necessitated us kind of disassembling a lot of the car, taking it apart so that we could clean and deep clean every single square inch. And like we said, you guys have seen all those videos that we have on our YouTube channel where we actually had to wash a lot of the mud and dirt out of the car, which is also why we did the dry ice blasting on the engine, the undercarriage, all the wheel wells, everything was as deeply cleaned as possible without damaging or hurting any of the electronics or any of the other stuff that was on there. So a couple of things that we did have to do. We took off the spoiler. When we took that off, we did find some slight surface rust. We made sure we had that all taken care of, remedied, and then resprayed. So that is why the deck lid is resprayed. The side steps, the guy drove it, he used it. But one thing he did was his foot dragged across these little side steps and he actually wore through the paint. So we had those repainted as well. And then of course, because this was a driver, the front bumper and the hood were a little bit pecked and pockmarked. So we needed to repaint those things. So that is the extent of the repaint done on the vehicle. And we had Regenerated Rides, Sean McNally, famous painter, take care of all those things and made sure to shoot it at the right direction, the right angle, because that is important when you're working with a paint like this. The Java Black Pearl is actually 4 colors. It's gold, green, brown, and black all in one. So it is a very hard color to replicate and match. And we took extra care to make sure that our color match was perfect. Anthony and I even spent a day going out to do all that. So, I mean, just it's amazing how much work you put in when you're trying to make a car match and be as perfect as possible. Once we got all the paintwork done, we called in the best of the best. We brought in the team from Rupes, we brought in the boys from Oberk and the boys from KXK, as well as G-Technic and Car Guys Supply. That way we could get, or Car Supply's warehouse, we could get everything in here so we could make this thing as perfect as possible. We had a great polishing party, but we needed to finish out those freshly painted panels. We also needed to make sure that the original paint, the sides and the roof were as perfect as possible. So we did a lot of sanding, a lot of polishing, a lot of refinishing on the paint to try and make sure that it is what it looks like right now. And then it was all professionally coated by certified G-Technic installers with their Crystal Serum Ultra. So we had Buck Hugaboom, who is a huge Subaru enthusiast and well known in the Subaru community. He came out here from Wisconsin to make sure that this thing received its a little seal of approval and a proper coating job, along with our very own Juan Gonzalez of All Season Detail and the Rag Company came out to help with that. So we got that looking as good as it possibly could, as well as all the glass got coated, the wheels got coated, the trim got coated, all with G-Technic products, including the interior panels and interior fabrics, all got protected and cared for. So this thing is as bulletproof as possible without actually shooting a bullet, and don't do that. But point is, the car is looking great. Tires are all dressed and cared for as well. So everything is perfect on this car. So those that are picking it up, you don't have to worry about it. The car is pristine. Now, number one thing, the spoiler, we did not repaint. Why? Because once you break apart an STI spoiler, you don't really want to put it back together. And we learned a lot about that by reading the forums and learning about it. So it is never been broken apart. It is completely one entire piece, and it's just been polished and refinished. And then we did put a layer of PPF on the top of the spoiler just to help protect and lock in the old 17-year-old paint that's on it. We didn't want to damage that, and we didn't want to ruin anything. So we wanted to keep that nice. So that's one of the things. Dane.
I've got some comments here from Bring a Trailer. Gabe says he was going to read me off some, so I'm going to listen to him here and then relay it to you.
David Figgs also said this was a number 2000.
So the first one is about window tint.
Yes.
Someone is asking, they want to know about the window tint. Is it removable? They like the way it looks, but if they were driving at night, they may not like it so much.
Yeah, so I saw that comment. This is actually the legal standard in most states. So we went with a 35% transmission, so it's actually quite light. What you don't realize is it's actually a very light window tint that's on it. So it shouldn't affect it any, but it is totally removable. You can peel it off, but you do have to remove the glue underneath and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But it hasn't actually been really outside since we had that done. So it's been sitting here in our climate controlled studio since we had it done. So
when you get the car from us, it'll be no different than if you just got it from the shop that was worked
exactly.
on. I mean, that's really the state that we're
And the
offering
tint's only a couple months old on it. So like I said, it's still fresh, still new.
And it's spent it all indoors.
It's been indoors, you're right. So no issues to that person that wanted to know. No issues on taking the tint off if you want. I wouldn't recommend it just because it's a lot of work, but it is doable. You can take it off. You can actually take it to another tint shop and have them remove it if you'd like. However, I think we went with the best case scenario. We wanted to tint the windows. Why? Well, because it protects that interior. It's going to help prevent, it's a ceramic tint. It's got a massive amount of UV protection, so not only is it safer for you in the vehicle, but it's also safe for the interior, because that's one of the things that a lot of people don't realize. These have the two-tone interior, and once that blue starts to fade, it starts to fade, and we don't want that happening any more than it already did. So that's what that tint is there, is also to protect the interior. So there's one of them.
Points. Plus, you know,
I think
maybe some
cool.
people like being in a fishbowl, but I don't.
Yeah, that's all right. To each their own.
It's okay.
Yeah.
You to each their own.
All right, Dane, next one. You got
All
another
right,
one
so
there?
Gabe's got another one for me. He's going to relay it now.
Okay. We're just waiting. It's good stuff. But I think David did say it was like number 2200, 2245, 22 something of the Java Black Pearl to ever be imported into the US. So.
Okay, so Gabe basically relayed one. Now this is one that Anthony and I did answer earlier, but we can go ahead and relay the info again because there's probably people who have joined in now who weren't there before.
Go ahead.
So it's in regards to the suspension. We've done the Fortunato coilovers with Swiss springs. Someone's asking, compared to an 07 STI that they wrote in on factory suspension, they thought that felt a little stiff, a little bumpy. How does this ride in comparison? Like, would you say it's a soft ride, a compliant ride, a bumpy ride? Where does it fall?
I am not the person to field that question. I think it rides fine. Honestly, with the new suspension, the boys did a good job. Jimmy's the one that really picked this whole suspension system out. He's the one that actually should be answering it, but I will say the Fortunato coilovers are literally top of the line. If you want to find a better coilover, I don't think you can, because there are Fortunatos on here with Swift springs. So they are perfect and perfectly spec'd and tuned for this vehicle. They feel just fine. Now, we can give you the old blown out struts that you want for it.
The option is there.
Not really. They are 17 years old and beat to heck, and these are a very, very, very nice high-end upgrade to this vehicle. I know that much.
I will say, having driven this,
and there's a ton of adjustability
on the nice windy roads leading up to the car show we took it to. It is a very compliant ride. Now, is it firm? It's on the firmer side. However, you can adjust the softness on it. You can make it more firm. You can make it less firm. You can also adjust the height, so you're not
bring it
stuck
up some more if you
at this particular height. If you'd rather be at a little higher, a little lower, you've got those options. But all the tools are right there. Now, as far as the actual ride is concerned, in terms of like how it feels to just handle corners and stuff, it's very confidence inspiring. So I would say, having driven a lot of cars, I drive a Jaguar XKR every day, but I also had a Miata. I've been in all kinds of cars, trucks, you name it. This one feels extremely solid. You really do feel good. It doesn't have any inkling of like being an old car. When you're driving it, that suspension really woke it up. Yeah. But it kept the character of the original car, and that's a big part of it.
Well, and like I said, when Anthony and I took it for that final drive, felt like I was riding in an STI. I didn't feel any different. It wasn't like, ooh, ow, ooh, ah.
Yeah,
you know, you watch us driving that thing, we're just going for a cruise in a car. Ride's nice, looks nice, feels good. So, man, look at that. All the Anthony popping in here.
In the audience.
I bet he'd like to bid on this. All he has is, what, a couple Civics?
Yeah.
And Evo?
Well, look who followed him up.
Yeah, very nice. Oh, man, Morgan McMurray. 88
All right, Gabe's got another question for me. Bring it on, Gabe. What you got? And I totally lost Gabe on the horn. I don't know what happened.
Well, hopefully we get that back. But I don't know what else he want to ask about this.
Okay, so Gabe is talking about the 60,000 mile service. So if we could talk about that for someone who's asking, did it get the 60,000 mile service done? What's been done to it? We've answered it before for people earlier in the feed, but we're later now, so we can talk about it again.
Okay. I don't know what you guys did to it.
You don't know that one.
Why
I know Gabe and I know Anthony know. The point is, I guess I'll speak. Sorry, I'm throwing it out. I'm being very official.
I appreciate
know
it,
about
Dane.
this one. I know that the service, as far as 60,000 mile service, has been conducted. You had everything from the tensioners to the the belts, that kind of stuff. That was handled. Water pump included. All the things you would normally be concerned about. They were handled at the 60,000 mile interval. So that was done by the previous owner. The car is good to go for a good long while. And actually, in addition to that, at the 60,000 mile service, when we took ownership of the car, we actually went through and just did our due diligence, knocked out all the different fluids, your oils, etc. I mean, went through each differential, got each one serviced, front, rear, and center. All those things have been taken care of so that you're not stuck with like some old grinding parts.
Yeah.
Stuff is handled so that it's going to be a good drive, not a frustrating drive. So as far as buying a used WRX STI is concerned, I know what the market is like with these. And if you find one, it's oftentimes driven by like a teenager into the ground who didn't maintain it, et cetera. They're at a point now where they're getting to that price level where people have bought them and beat them up. And now you're finding good examples are hard to find.
Yeah, the previous owner actually, to his credit, mechanically did a great job.
Cosmetically, that's where we came in, but that's what it made it such a perfect car for us to have in the series was cosmetically we knew, oh, we can do some stuff with this.
Now, one of the things that we did fix was we went to a local shop here in Boise that has been doing upholstery repair for generations. This is the kind of upholstery shop you want to go to because it's a grandfather, father, son-owned business. The sons are in their late 50s to early 60s. That's how long this business has been around. So I knew they would be the perfect ones to take these seats to get them fixed. Now, the only seat we actually had to fix was this driver's seat. And what it was this bolster right here. From the 17 years of getting in and out, it had started to wear away. So we had them replace the foam inside. Then I asked them to reuse as much of the old fabric as possible. And so the only piece of fabric that they replaced was right here. We also had them fix and stitch up any of this stitching that was starting to come loose. We had them just make sure the seat was as good as it possibly could be for the next customer. So now when you sit in it, you feel like you're sitting in a brand new STI seat. It's nice, it's comfortable, feels good.
Aldi Anthony has a question for me, it looks like.
Okay.
Do you think this generation of the STI will hold its value from here on out? Dame, what is your favorite year of the WRX? Okay. Well, I'll let you answer too. You've been to Japan back when these were new and everything, so that's definitely a cool factor too.
Well, I was in Japan in the year 2000, Dane.
Right, so you were there when the WRXs and the STIs were Japan only.
You're right, and I never saw a single one.
Never saw a single one.
Because I was all about the Skylines.
Right.
So I went for the R34s, the R33s, R32s.
Yep.
It was back in the year 2000.
Yes.
Super fun time. But I will say I had learned a little bit about these, and I remember wondering why they had 300 horsepower all-wheel drive, or 290 horsepower all-wheel drive cars, and we hadn't gotten them here in the U.S.
Yeah, right.
And then it literally was a few years later,
bummer, yeah.
all of a sudden they show up, and I'm like, why did we never get the ones prior to that? Why were we getting all these old little tiny cars? So
yeah,
this thing, it was something, this and the Evos when they came out, this was something that was special, something that's unique, and something that you didn't see. All of a sudden you had a literal hot sedan that could smoke anything in that time period for 2003, 2004.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing stuff.
Now, what Anthony here is asking about market-wise, I would tend to agree. I think that WRX STIs of this ilk, especially the blob-eye generation ones from like 04 to, I would say probably like the 07, 08, maybe at the very end. I would say that's kind of the range of these very similar generations where they just got a facelift and they're more or less the same car underneath. They've kind of reached a point where they're not going to bottom out too much more. I think they've kind of hit the point where now the people who wanted them back then but couldn't afford them can now afford them.
Yeah.
And
these
finding
are the
a good
most
example is hard.
These are also the most mechanical.
Yes.
You know,
so
all the new ones have a ton of the
different.
electronic aids and a bunch of stuff that
yeah,
albeit is rad, this is more visceral.
Yeah.
This is more,
definitely.
You feel every single square inch of this car, and it lets you know, and you can hear it.
You get
on the
that
inside,
feedback
you get the growl,
through the wheel,
you
and like the suspension we put on there, it rides good, but it rides sporty. So you feel what you need to know. The car communicates to you, and that's a big part of it. Is in a car like this, it's not a luxury car. You're not buying it to be a luxury car. You're buying it because you want a fun sporting experience, but you also kind of like the JDM aesthetic and stuff. It's going to appeal to all those things. But at the end of the day, it's a hotted up economy car, so it's going to drive like a really sporty version of one of those.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But my favorite generation, probably the original, the GCs, the Imprezas, 22B. Always would love to see a
Yeah.
22B, the 2-door with the big wide fenders, you know, like Colin McRae style.
Yeah.
The ones that are selling for like hundreds of thousands of dollars now. You're just not going to find them. Of course, I like the one that's hard to get.
Yeah,
but
what we do
that's
is
the
get
way
rid
it
of your
goes.
truck and get you one of those.
Yeah, sell my truck 3 times over, maybe. But yeah, no, maybe I'll just find a beat up 2.5 RS
There
and
you
just
go.
build it out
Yeah.
or something. But anyway, what else do I have here? Oh, Levi, a comment for you coming from Anthony. I think this is useful.
Can Levi explain what brands were part of this build and who came out to help out with what?
Great.
I'm curious.
Great point.
Great question all day, Anthony. So a lot of companies came out to help. Obviously, our friends at Regenerated Rides repainted the panels. We got all the paint and products from Westco here in Boise. We had United Auto Upholstery do the upholstery work. Les Schwab provided the Continental tires, our buddy Wayne Castle over there. Then our friends at Discount Tire did the Proxys R888s. And then our friends at Koenig supplied a set of new wheels for us. And then Western Powder Coating and Sandblasting are the ones who powder coated
refinish.
the original, did the original BBSs in this really cool color, made them extra glossy. And then our friends at Rupes came and helped polish out the car. Our friends at G-Technic came and coated the car. And our friends at O'Burke and KXK Dynamics were here to help refinish all the new panels, or the panels that have been repainted. And then Jason Otterness from Car Supply's Warehouse and Chicago Auto Pros was here as well to help lend a hand and get this thing looking sharp. So all of our friends came to spend a weekend with us. You know, Dylan, Troy, Jason, Eric. Who else did we have? We
Well,
had
we've had the
David
PNS crew
Patterson.
come
We had
and touch
Jason
it. I
Kilmer.
mean, we've had
And then we
people
had the
from
I forgot about the
all over
PNS crew.
coming.
We had our friends.
Absolutely.
We had Rennie, Sid, Keith, Bob, and Dave. All of them come from PNS to work on the interior. We got to dress a lot of the panels, make everything look nice. Our friends at Lupo Motors, Dry Ice Blasted, and Lupo Auto Spa, Dry Ice Blasted.
Yeah,
all.
you
And
want to talk a little bit about
and
the
then
dry
Garage
ice?
Slick, Steve
Yeah.
Warren is the one that did the PPF and the window tint. So we've had a ton of help in getting this car to this stage. So it has been a huge project from a lot of people and a lot of hours and evenings and weekends for some folks to get this thing to where it is now.
Someone asked how many man hours we had into this car, and I shudder even thinking about it.
I will say, because
many
we're
hands
a
that touch
company
this
and
car.
we're able to do this, I don't think it could have been recreated any other way.
No, if someone were to try and recreate what we did on their own, they would still be barely halfway into
We
this
were lucky.
2-3
Yeah.
years later.
Yeah.
if they're
We
doing
were
it by
lucky to get
themselves.
it done since November to be where we're at with this
Yeah.
vehicle. Almost 1 year exactly.
Now,
So-
I do have one here. Actually, the Rag Company posted this
Oh,
one.
wonderful.
Interesting. That's weird because I'm over here and I didn't type that.
It says, it is confirmed by Jeff that we will be doing another project car. Any suggestions? Man, he is excited. Today
I
is
have a-
Jeff's
I have a
birthday.
I have a suggestion.
I've got a 94 Chevy pickup that is ready to rock and roll. All we got to do is do some fun stuff to it. I think
So
an
I was
LS swap.
thinking, the new 2022 Honda Civic's pretty awesome.
Okay, but that's a brand
Wow,
new
you guys are not interesting
new-
at all.
What?
new car.
But yeah, it's a new Honda Civic economy,
how are we gonna
right?
fix it
Great
up?
for family, great for kids. It's got 5 seats in it, great gas mileage,
This has
plenty of power.
This one already
Dane,
has that.
what could you possibly want?
I would prefer to see something like an FD RX-7, something like that. I think would be super cool.
Oh, Dane, have you ever worked on a rotary?
Yeah, it's actually more mechanically simple than some other
Okay.
cars. The only
That's
problem is
weird
apex seals.
because most of
Yeah.
them aren't
So,
running.
fun facts. But anyway,
I think
very cool
here's
cars.
another idea.
So we're
I got
talking
another one. Here's
STI
another one
today.
we could do. That could be fun. 99 2000 S10. LS swap.
Do you know if anybody would want?
Two, our very own graphic designer Nate has one. He said he just put his regular tires on. Has no traction. Literally can't hook it up, which is why it came with drag
Well,
racing.
I guess the question is, if we were to do another project car in the future, right? So we've already kind of knocked out a little bit of a tuner, right?
Yeah,
This was a
resto.
tuner resto, and at that point, do we get into American muscle, right? Do we get into something maybe a little bit different? Do we get into a truck? Do we get into something a little bit sportier, a roadster, or something like that? Maybe something
We
European.
could build a truck to match Dane's.
I mean, what do you think about Porsches, Dane? You like Porsches?
I like Porsches. I like a classic, like, well,
Can we do
a
a urban outlaw style?
now. I like the 90s 911s.
Yeah, we
but
could do that.
I would say you two, with your microphones, maybe stand a little further apart.
Oh,
Just
you feeling that?
a little bit of
You getting it?
overlap
You getting it?
happening in
So
there.
maybe
But,
if we
yeah.
did an RWB Porsche, right?
We could do
but
that.
instead of an RWB, it's an RAG.
Ah, I like that. I see what you did.
Yeah, see
what you're doing
It's still
there.
rough, right? It'll still be rough, but it'll be ours, and it'll be awesome. Wide body, everything.
Yeah.
Jimmy will be slinging that silicone with one finger, right?
Yeah.
Taking his finger, running things across. You with a belt sander and angle
And a
grinder,
Diet Pepsi.
right? And then you in a diet,
Right
you, me, rattle canning everything.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be good.
2K clear the world,
okay,
baby.
Yeah, but you've got
We
the
have
stencils and the
all
2K clear.
of 16 and change minutes left before
Impressive.
this auction ends. We're sitting at 31,000 on the car. Do you think this is going to go higher? We've met the reserve, things are running. This is going to be interesting to see, but I think whoever gets this, especially at this, but they're getting a steal of a deal on this thing. I mean, so much work has been put into this car to make it even better than it would have been factory. That's why OEM Plus. You want to explain the OEM Plus mantra to people who may not understand?
So OEM Plus, right? This wasn't really a thing until recent years, right? Because basically the combination of the purists who enjoy, how things came from factory, and it took a long time for people to find this niche within this, right? Because there was always that person that's like, hey, I like all the stock plastics. I like all the original colors. I like this stuff.
Kit years.
Yeah, they had to go through those years to realize that I actually like everything, but I want to add a couple small accessories, right? Maybe they were aftermarket accessories from the manufacturer. Maybe they were aftermarket accessories with really good taste, right? And really good build quality. And I think that's where the whole OEM Plus thing came from, because this car is already great looking. It doesn't need a whole lot. In terms of functionally, the car already functions extremely well, handles well, drives well. But the OEM Plus thing kind of came from how can we improve some small things here around the car to add some special touches to make it our own, but also make it perform better, right? An all-around kind of increase in terms of performance, handling, looks, styling, and everything else like that. So. In terms of OEM Plus, right, I'd say that the suspension was probably an OEM Plus thing. I would say that the brakes were definitely an OEM Plus thing. The steering wheel being an OEM Plus thing. Even the head unit, I would consider that to kind of be in that realm.
Speaking of which, Anthony, while
yeah.
you talk about this, could you go back through the vehicle again for people who are just joining now? Show them, as you're talking about OEM Plus, some of the stuff inside and out of the car.
Yeah, so taking a look inside here, so one of the biggest examples here, oh, I forgot that the window,
Frameless,
right?
baby.
Frameless windows. Having the steering wheel wrapped in the Alcantara wrap here from Auto Interior Technic, having the the OEM JDM knob from Japan for the 6-speed manual transmission there. Brand new, looking fantastic. The head unit there, and even the new floor mats, right? I think the floor mats in the black just look very appealing. And so from there, though, a lot of the exterior stuff was really like the front lip, right? The front lip, the brakes, the rotors, all of that. And the car really didn't need a whole lot. I mean, probably one of the things that I really like that I think that should probably go on every single rally car, as long as it's all-wheel drive. You put this on a front-wheel drive car, I might have some questions for you, would be the Rally Armor mud flaps, right? I think the Rally Armor mud flaps are a huge improvement, because once you dial on that paint, once you get that paint perfect, you want to make sure that that paint is still looking good. And so I feel like that's something that anybody can do. Throw that on there, prevent rock chips, and functionally works very well, but visually it looks good too.
And I would also point out, as far as stance is concerned, because some people are like, oh, the car, I see these custom wheels. Have you done anything to change like how the car sits on the ground, camber, things like that? Should people worry about that, or is it normal, or where are we at on that?
I think that we actually have the final alignment sheet on here. We did add just a little bit of camber, and that was actually based on what people said on the Subaru forums in terms of something that would actually help with the performance of the car. And so I do know we're running a little bit of camber here. And so the camber was really just from a performance aspect. We made sure to zero out the toe, obviously, so we're not burning through tires, but really a small bit of camber just to be able to comfortably fit the more aggressive wheels. But again, everything is adjustable. If you'd like to revert this back to 100% stock, you're more than welcome to do that. But as the car currently sits, once you throw on those Koenig hexaforms, they are extremely lightweight. I can't tell you how lightweight this wheel and tire combo is. I mean, going up here, I mean, I wish I was cool enough and confident enough to be able to pick that up with one hand and juggle it, but let's face it, that probably won't work out very well for me. So, but the R888s, gosh, I just love that wheel and tire combo.
Well, they've barely been used, too.
They haven't been used, I know.
10, 15 miles on them,
We got
maybe?
more pictures and more video and everything with the current setup here than, let's just say, I would have liked. I would have really liked to have had more of the Koenigs on.
Oh, you know what? We talked about coating on the car, so people know that the car itself is coated, it has PPF and stuff. But what about smaller components, things like the wheels, the brakes, etc.?
Yeah. So again, I went through the entire brake caliper assembly. We didn't want to refinish the brake calipers, right? Meaning we didn't want to tear them apart and repowder coat them, because when it comes to repowder coating Brembo brakes such as this, you have to have the rebuild kit and you have to know how to actually put things back together, because once you powder coat them, you can't reuse the old stuff, or at least you shouldn't reuse the old stuff. And so we opted to not take apart the Brembos, and instead we actually wanted to try to touch them up to the best of our ability. So we actually found a very, very, very close color code from Honda that they used on one of their generations of the Honda Civic. It was a gold color, and we went through and Dr. Color chipped the brake calipers to really bring those things back to life and make them look really, really good. And those were also coated in G-Technics C5. And so basically all of the wheels, both sets of wheels, were coated in G-Technics C5, which is their ceramic coating for high temperature surfaces such as wheels and brake calipers. And then from there, the wheels were actually repowder coated. So when we first got the BBSs, it was funny because the previous owner threw in the BBSs because he said, hey, these are original to the car, you should take them. And they were in okay shape, right? There was some things that needed to be kind of worked out a little bit. I wouldn't even really call it curbing, just a little bit of rash, a little bit on some of the areas. So we wanted to repowder coat them. So we repowder coated them in the original OEM BBS silver color, at least the closest silver that we could find. These had a little bit more gloss to them. So they shot them at a little bit of a higher gloss temperature just to really bring out, just to bring out more gloss and a little bit more durability. So they had a top coat on the top as well. So basically we had their base silver, and then we shot them again with clear powder to really bring out some more.
A couple other things I wanted to talk about, just because I can once again hear voices in my ear. They also wanted to point out some smaller items that have been replaced in the car that people may not expect.
Yeah.
So some things like the heat shield up under the hood there. You've got the area back in the trunk here. You've got new carpeting back there, if I recall.
New carpeting, yep.
Got that there. And also, fun fact, we didn't overlook anything, because even these lug nuts, as we pointed out before, are two-piece lug nuts, STI, actual very nice lug nuts. So that way they don't hurt the wheel when you're taking them off.
Yeah, so what we
that.
found when we were, you know, it was kind of cool, because basically we went on a shopping spree, an OEM shopping spree on a lot of things. And I would say it's not particularly fun. Finding part numbers is never fun, right? And then going through the diagrams and you're zooming in, you're like, is that a 7 or is that a 9? I can't tell because it curves.
Parts catalog for two
Very different parts that go in the same place, and you're like, wait, what trim is it?
Well,
how do I know?
And that's
which
how we
one?
actually ended up with the front lip, right? Because we used a diagram wrong. But
I would say it worked out in the end. That looks amazing.
Going through and shopping for all the OEM parts and buying everything, it was a good feeling, right? And what I really got to give a shout out to Subaru for is that they actually offer still a ton of parts in their catalog to order. And I can't say that about a lot of car manufacturers, because after 15 years or so, they really start discontinuing a lot of the parts. You're not able to get anything anymore, but Subaru keeps a really good backlog of everything. We really wanted to replace the carpet just because there's nothing like the smell of a new carpet. That was the only thing we weren't able to get. We tried to order one. They were just on back order for 6 to 8 months, and let's just say 2020 didn't help at all, right, with all the back order situations. So things that were replaced, though, in terms of some OEM stuff, yes, the trunk liner, at least the bottom portion of the mat area was replaced, so at least that's brand new. You get a little bit of that fresh carpet smell every time you open that trunk. You know, maybe when you're putting your groceries back there, you're like, you know, new car,
How about
new-ish
the floor
car.
mats in the car? Did we do those?
Yep, so new floor mats as well. And one other thing too is that for the front bumper, kind of the canard section here, where you have your inserts where some people might put a fog light, these cover plates right here were brand new as well. And what was really cool is that from factory, those are actually already paint matched with the logo on them, and it was a perfect match for our resprayed bumper. So it showed that we really got that color spot on.
That's always a relief.
In terms of it matching. But yes, so this underside here, so the heat shield underneath the hood, brand new, which is funny because you look at it and you think it would be a little bit more black than that, but that's just how it came OEM, and it looks really good. So where all these stock clips are back in here, everything's clipped up. So you just call that a hood insulator is what that is.
All right. Well, you know, I was going to point out with the new WRX being revealed today, there's a lot of people with a lot of opinions online and how they feel about that. All I am going to say is I feel like these particular WRX STIs, these generations, these earlier ones, US spec in particular, an early US example like this is much harder to come by. These are going to go up. These ones are on their way up. They're appreciating because people are realizing that kind of driving experience, you're not going to find that again.
Yeah, so the blob eye, right?
Yeah.
That's what they call it, the blob eye. I
love
like
the
that.
blob eye. Blob eye's great.
I like that. And so the blob eye, I think, will continue to go up in value, mainly for the fact that, I mean, this was the first STI here in the U.S. market. And right after the bug eye had come out of the WRX version, the blob eye made its appearance. And that was kind of the rivalry between Subaru and Mitsubishi, because Mitsubishi had released the Evo 8 in 2003, and then now the WRX in 2004.
I wanted to point out for the folks at home that you are the proud owner of an Evo 9 MR. And even as someone who owns an Evo, would you not say this is a really excellent example of a Subaru WRX STI? I mean, knowing the rivalry is there, you can still appreciate a beautiful example of that.
Yes, Dean, it hurts for me to say that. Yes, it hurts deep, but yeah, I will say that. As being an Evo owner and driving this car, I could absolutely see the appeal of this. I mean, it's more than just being good looking, but also from the driving perspective as well. I think the transmission feels great. I think the power still feels really good. I think that you definitely get more torque right off the bat, right? In an Evo, you're definitely waiting for that turbo to kick in to kind of carry you through the power band. But with this, you have that torque with that really linear power coming from the turbo to really just kind of send you all the way up into the next gear. And I think that between the two, very similar rally red cars, but also very different driving experience. It really just kind of depends on what your flavor is. But yeah.
We've got another comment here simply asking, can I pick up in person? Well, if you're the winning bid, then I don't necessarily see why not.
Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, I'm sure if you were the winning bid and you wanted to come pick it up in person rather than trail it or do whatever you'd like to do, we are happy with bringing you here, giving you a complete tour of the rag company. And I think I'm going to go ahead and say this, I don't know if everybody else is down for this. I think we'll probably hook you up with some free towels, maybe some detailing products as well. Maybe I'm going a little bit above and beyond, so they're giving me the thumbs up. Okay, we can make some stuff happen, right? Because we want you to maintain this, and I think that having the right towels, having the right products, we want to be able to set you up. Chemicals, brushes. Oh, geez, Jeff's throwing in the kitchen.
Wow.
So
getting real excited.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah, I think the winning bid will definitely enjoy this. So we have 4 minutes left.
All right.
Crazy.
So,
well,
this is the part where we kind of rehash what we've already done, but you know what?
Yeah.
There's people joining in at the last second constantly, so why don't we go around the car once again, show some more of the inside, maybe turn it on one last time, because we turned it on once much earlier. We could do it again.
Yeah, so I'll give it another quick start up here. I'm ready. If I turn it on one more time, Dane, I think I'm just going to drive it home. I feel like that's probably the next step, right? So giving this a flick on here. Giving that nice sweep from the gauges. The ghost gauges is what they refer to them as, meaning that they kind of just appear at you. And then turning it on. Get a shot of the old engine there. Do that for me, Seabass.
All right, I see another bid placed by Sup Dizzle for $31,250. So now they're starting to kind of creep in. We're going to be seeing a little more back and forth, I suspect.
think it's still warm from the previous startup here. I mean, it was started up, what, 20 minutes ago, Dane? 30? Give it a couple little blips. It's what? Yeah. It's a good sound.
Well, Anthony, I'm very happy to see that the comments are rolling in over on Bring a Trailer as well, because obviously that's where this listing is happening at.
Yeah.
People are saying they're loving the YouTube live stream. They think that Bring a Trailer should do this for all their listings.
Really?
Which I don't think people realize. This is not a Bring a Trailer thing. Yeah. We're doing this for our own car. But hey, you know what? I think it's a fun idea. Do a little QVC with your own auction car. So
I
we've
feel
got
like a QVC
new bids.
host.
Ooh, the bids are going back and forth now. We've got Sub Dizzle popping in at 32,250. Things are getting exciting.
This is
at
exciting.
a minute 45.
So this is kind of the part where I feel like I am on like
you
some
get that
type of
adrenaline
you know,
rush.
I'm on like some type of show, right? I'm like the next bidder will take home 20 Eagle.
I don't know how you're going to feel
cows.
about this, but you are on a show right now, and 35 just rolled in, so things are running. But
oh man,
Robodot's not messing around. All right, so
That's
for
crazy.
people who are watching
That's
at
crazy.
home, this is definitely fun to watch. But I think whoever gets this, no matter what you're paying at this point, you're getting an incredible deal, because you can't replicate what has been done with this car in terms of the people of the industry, detailing industry, who've touched this car. You're not going to get that anywhere else.
Yeah,
you just won't.
It's super cool. I think it's definitely a piece of TRC history, you know, even at that. And so if you're a big fan of TRC, or if you're just a big fan of Subarus in general, I think that you'll really enjoy this. And I think that realistically, though, I think that it's this experience has been worth it. This experience has been so fun and so awesome, and especially coming from when we first rolled this car in during TRCMA and pulled this car for the first time, and everybody's excited because they're like, okay, what's going to actually happen? And then all the time and effort, and I just want to give a huge shout out to everybody that made this possible, right? Everybody from the detailing industry to everybody here within this building that's put in all the time, effort, blood, sweat, and tears. I mean, literally, blood, sweat, and tears. There were some knuckle busters on this car, and we've all said that if we bled for this car, it better be worth it, right? And no, but I mean, everybody from the media team to everybody that put their hands on there and wrenching, it made a huge difference, right? Every single purchase and touch in this car made an impact on it. And so Jimmy, behind one of the cameras here, he was in charge of all the cinematics, right? So all these cinematics that you'll see on the channel, all that really good-looking footage, Jimmy was able to knock that out and make it even more special, right?
And all the editing. Important bit of info here with the bidding that's been going on. We've met the reserve. This car will be going today. So whoever bids on it at this point, whoever has the winning bid, they are going to be walking away with this car.
Cool. Okay. So we met the reserve, so it's a done deal, right? Because if we didn't meet the reserve, does that mean that you're buying it, Dane?
I mean, I guess we could drive it. I feel bad driving it around. It's so nice. But here they come. So, okay, people know what's up. They know it's going to go. So now they're hungry.
Yeah.
People are hungry. They know whatever they pay for this, it's going to appreciate. That's the thing. You're getting it now, and it's just going to appreciate with time.
Exactly.
These JDM cars are only going up at this point. You have an early US example of an STI. You're not going to find that elsewhere. And it's a rare color. Once again, Java Black Pearl. You don't see those every day.
Dane, you're selling this car to me.
I am in full QVC mode at this point. I'm just letting the fine folks at home know. Whoever puts in those killer bids right now is going to be running away with it. They are going to, if they want to, come pick up the car in person. You can have an actual TRC experience. We will show you around TRC. We will give you products to take home with you. You will be able to keep this thing looking as clean as we've kept it for a long time to come.
Yeah, well, I think we're gonna. Yeah, we'll give you enough. TRC supplies just to keep this thing going, right? Because we want to make sure this thing stays clean. I don't know. It would be really cool. I think if somebody came out, right, the buyer of this came out, depending of whether they like to be on camera or not. I mean, heck, even doing a Wash Wednesday with them, right? One final Wash Wednesday before it goes. I don't know. Just throwing out options. I thought it'd be kind of cool. Sentimental. I might tear up a little bit as I've bled for this car. I still have some scars on my knuckles from the suspension, but that's okay. And so, but yeah, it's going up still, and 1 minute left. 1 minute left. Super cool.
Messing around. This is where it gets crazy. When you get on Bring a Trailer, for those who are on the live stream who are not familiar with Bring a Trailer, when you get in that last 2 minute range, if there's a new bid that goes in, you end up getting the clock reset. So
Yeah.
even though you have a set end time that was 3:56, it's 3:58 now, and people are still going. So this is going to be interesting. I don't know how this is going to turn out, but once again, yes, I'm doing the hard sell because I really think it's worth it. Whoever gets this car, at this point, they're still getting an amazing deal.
Dane, are you going to put your cars on Bring a Trailer?
I'm so tempted at this point.
It's been a fun experience. I think working with Bring a Trailer on this whole thing has been really fun too. They've just, I mean, the way they...
All right,
Yeah,
we are below 30 seconds.
Oh, 30
now.
seconds, okay.
So, people who have
20
questions
seconds.
about the car, they want to get anything in last second, or they want to talk, if you're the winning
I don't
bidder,
know.
reach out to Gabe, G-A-B-E, at theragcompany.com. That is where you will find it. So that's who you want to talk to. He is kind of running
Oh
things
my
behind
gosh,
the scenes
there
here.
we go.
Man, okay, GT3, you're not messing around. You just
Jeez.
threw down 41. I believe
So
you.
I thought you
believe
said, you said
want this.
okay GT3, like
I
his
said
name
it
was
that way on purpose to
GT3.
kind of give it some flow. You know, I'm in a zen state here. We're just going with it.
My heart's racing.
Yeah, no,
I
this
can't
is
take
fun.
this.
I enjoy watching Bring a Trailer listings as it is, but being on the other side of it and being on a live stream and reacting in real time for other people to see, very unique experience. I enjoy this. I'm riding a high right now that I actually want to replicate on a future project.
So I think that would be pretty cool, though. I think that if Bring a Trailer did like what they saw right now, right, in terms of the production, bring your cars here. I'm fine. I think that would be cool. I would love seeing awesome cars come in here for a live thing and have the owners, you know,
Actually,
talk about it.
that's a fun business model. If someone else has a car they want to list and they want to do like a live stream with it and they want to involve it in some way, maybe we detail it or something. Who knows? Some interesting new business model just developed.
The options are
on the
endless.
spot.
Options are endless. But yeah, I think that just the culture that Bring a Trailer kind of it brings, right? And I think that what they've done to create that website and the people that are serious about things, I think it gets rid of the tire kickers. You know, for the people who want to ask questions, they can still ask questions. But I think it kind of takes the whole bidding to a really serious level. And I think the amount that they require in order to sell a car on there is pretty intensive, right? All the pictures, everything that they need. I mean, how many pictures do we upload? 100 and something pictures, photos of this car.
Yeah, we're up to almost like 130 pictures on this. I mean, we have so much detailed documentation on this to show people. Just everything we've done. Plus, we did a whole video series about it on the Rag Company YouTube channel. So anybody who's curious, if you win the car, go back and watch those videos if you haven't. Because that's where the action is.
10,
you can see everything we did
9,
to it. All right,
7,
5 seconds
6,
to go. 4 seconds, 3
5,
seconds,
4,
2 seconds, 1
3,
second.
2.
Checking for last second bids. All right, okay,
It's
GT3,
sold.
you won it. All right. All right, so, okay, GT3, I have some news for you. Please reach out to Gabe at theragcompany.com. Send an email to GABE at theragcompany.com. That's who you want to talk to. He can fill you in on what you need to know. But yeah, I'm really proud of you. Great, great buy, and this thing is going to last you as long as you want it to. It's a great car, and you just don't find them like this. You don't.
I just don't make them like this anymore because they don't make them like this
Because I saw some guy like, oh, it's different than a new one. Yeah, it's different than a new one, in my opinion.
It's different in the most delicious way, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's going to wrap it up, guys. I think that this live stream has been absolutely awesome. I want to thank you to everybody, I mean, that's helped with this car, everybody here in the media studio that's helped bring this live production, and everybody over at Bring a Trailer for allowing us to do this as well. They seem to be pretty on board with us doing a live stream, and hopefully we get to do this again, maybe on the next project car. And so, as always, you can drop a comment down below after this video ends, and you can maybe drop future suggestions on what project cars that you'd like to see in the future that we can do again right here at Bring a Trailer and the Rag Company. So, as always, guys, thank you all for watching. Stay tuned, and we'll keep you updated on maybe when the new owner picks up this car or we end up shipping this car out. So, thanks for watching, and as always, if you guys like this video, make sure you give us a big thumbs up, subscribe down below for more future builds and potential Bring a Trailer auctions, and stay tuned for more videos right here at the Rag Company.